going on, guys? I'm back with a brand new WTF edition review. And this is definitely going to make you say that. Because I just watched a movie called Tiny Cinema, starring Austin Lewis, Paul Ford, and Olivia Herman. First of all, I want to go back in time into history of all the horror anthologies I've ever watched. All right. Now, in 1982, when I was born, Creepshow 1 came out. Now, not only because I was born at the time, but even years later, I never really had a chance to watch this movie. Not just sit down and actually watch it. All right, I've heard about it. I've seen the clips 1,000 times, the storylines and everything. It's almost like I actually watched it, but I haven't. So I really need to get some time and watch this movie. Because in 1987, Creepshow 2 came out. That's the one I'm familiar with. That's the one I actually sat down and enjoyed. It's the first time I ever seen a horror anthology in my life. And this was so memorable. There's so many good stories with this one. Some funny ones that were still a little messed up. All right, I definitely enjoyed the monster at the lake one. All right, I'd never seen anything like that. Honestly, it was my introduction to horror anthology. Then in 1990, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, came out. Okay, what's so memorable about this was for me, the cat story. Anybody who's seen this, they know what I'm talking about. This definitely shows you just how evil cats can be. I was not even surprised when I saw the movie. It could have been a real life story, in my opinion. Okay. So, and there's other stories in there that were just standouts, but like that cat story was just incredible. All right. Then in 1995, they took it to the hood with Tales from the Hood. First time ever, honestly, seeing any kind of black horror movie. This was it. This was it. Okay? We don't have a whole lot of them out there. All right. This came at horror in a completely different way, if you can imagine. I don't even have to say anything. You know how I went at it. Because in that same year, Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight came out. Let me tell you something about Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt movies, not the same thing as the TV show. Tales from the Crypt movies are not that great. I'm sorry. I just have to put it out there. They're not that great. I barely remember what happened in this movie. I barely remember it. It's not memorable. Okay? Because in 1996, Tales from the Crypt Bordello of Blood, a lot of B's there, came out. Still horrible. I'm glad that whoever writes these movies for them just stopped. They stopped and realized we should never do any more movies. Let's probably bring the show back, but no more movies. Thank you. Because then after that, of course, we had the VH1 trilogy. And that's the only thing that's been worth watching as far as a horror anthology as of recent. And now we have Tiny Cinema. So my question is, will Tiny Cinema be the new era of horror anthology? We're about to find out. Let's go. Tiny Cinema, for those who don't know, for those who are not aware, if you don't know about Tiny Cinema, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, because I wouldn't have known if I wouldn't have scrolled through the movie downloads. I wouldn't have known anything about this. It's not really advertised that much. All right, it just kind of popped out of nowhere. All right, so yeah, I won't penalize you this time. This was kind of a shock and a surprise to me too. Tiny Cinema is pretty much 6 tales told from this seemingly disabled man, handicapped guy in a wheelchair who has a bit of a deformed body. All right. About just 6 stories of oddness, of things in life that are just very, very uncomfortable to go through. Okay, let's put it like that. Simple life happenings that are turned into this turmoil, like out of nowhere. All right, that's the best way to describe that. It's the best way to describe that. Each tale is taken from here and then goes up to here so fast. All right, and that's pretty much what you're gonna get out of this. This is not your typical horror movie or horror anthology, period. All right, you have to watch this. Positives. The first thing that came to mind about this movie was just the way that they did this. This is not your, like I said earlier, this is not your typical horror anthology. Not your typical horror movie at all. Because they don't really focus on trying to scare you, per se. Hear me out. It's more of making the audience uncomfortable. That's their whole goal. They with this movie, they try to make the audience completely uncomfortable. You're not going to be ready. You might think you're ready to watch this movie. You're not ready. You ain't ready till you watch it. Okay, because the things that happen in this film are just mind blowing. So messed up. They're so messed up to a point of there's certain clips or storylines in this movie that I watched that I would not normally watch after realizing what's going on. I would, but because I know it's their style and what they're trying to do with this, I just went ahead and watched it on through there, man. So a lot of these are going to make sense, but they're going to be like, why did they actually went there? They actually went there with this. It's not your typical horror movie. I'm telling you right now. It's completely different. Another positive. The host fit right in to the type of stories that he was telling or he was introducing. Okay, you have this man who's in his wheelchair, and he does not look like your normal person you bump into every day, going out of your house. You don't see this kind of guy every damn day. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest with you. And he's a bit odd looking. I'm not trying to be mean. He's a bit odd looking, but the way that he introduced these stories, it's funny because he has this sarcastic way of doing it. And I like one scene that he introduces because he gives this laugh like from within his chest. He just gives this little laugh, and then he rolls off. I'm not trying to be funny. He actually rolls off in his chair. Okay, and he's no crypt keeper. All right, he's not that, but we don't always need a crypt keeper to give you our host. We don't need that all the time. We need something different, and he definitely Paul Ford definitely brought that. He really brought that kind of vibe, that aura, that flavor of a different host this time. Okay, we don't get a lot of great horror hosts. They can't all be good old crypt keeper. Okay. My last positive about this movie, this film, the way it was written, it had a great ability to turn something so simple into a catastrophe. And a good example of that, there's a scene or a storyline within this movie where these mafia guys are having a card game or whatever may have you, and someone mentions having sex with the other guy's mother. All right, now usually within any circle of men, this would be an issue. This would be a huge issue. All right, but The guy seems to laugh it off after getting mad the first few seconds. And the other guy thinks things are all good. So later on, something happens. All right, let's just say something happens, and the guy finds out it's not all daisies and flowers for the rest of the night. Okay, because it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. I don't want to say too much. It goes from 0 to 100 with that whole situation real fast. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to go this way. It went that way. And I really congratulate the movie for making that decision, because that was almost too perfect. You think of something he said, you never think it to be that. Okay? And I love that. I love that. I love the way they handle that. This movie is ridiculous. All right. Negatives. In my opinion, there was not enough gore. All right. Now, I respect what they were trying to do, come at this in a whole different way as far as horror. But when it comes to horror, I still need a reason to curl up in my chair, okay? To be on the edge of my chair, wanting to know what's going to happen next, type thing. All right, put a little thrill in me, put a little bit of chills down my back, okay? Not like that, okay? But put that scared emotion in me. All right, I want to be scared a little bit, at least. Now, there's some creepy factors in here. I'll give it that. There's some creepy stuff that happens in this movie. Trust me, but not to the point of chilling. All right, I didn't get the goosebumps. What they call it, goosebumps. I didn't get any of that. The hair rising off your skin, not at once. It's not that kind of horror, and I understand why, but you gotta have a little something. Give me a little something. All right. Another negative about this. There was a certain storyline in there where this woman had her new dead boyfriend at the dinner table, and she introduced her female friends to this new dead boyfriend, pretty much a corpse. Their reaction was so unrealistic. I couldn't bear to watch. I watched the rest of that storyline, but I was just like, what? You see this person with a dead body at the table, and that's how y'all gonna react. Y'all stood at that table that long, entertaining that. No. As soon as you walk through the door, you see the dead body, you scream, you run. All right, that you call somebody or whatever to come get this crazy person. All right, you don't sit down and entertain that. What? That I scratched my head on that one. Like, that was definitely a WTF moment. That was a WTF moment right there. Do not understand that at all. There are other reactions, unrealistic reactions in this movie as well, as far as an old man having this guy come down, and he's telling him that he's him in the future. All right. Now, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but when you meet somebody for the first time and they're telling you certain things like that, please just start using your gift of details. Start noticing things. Start giving things a good look. All right. That's all I gotta say. I want to say so much more about that scene, but I don't want to ruin it. I need you to watch that. My last negative for this The last storyline was so dumb. It was so dumb. It was something that a little 14-year-old could come up with. All right, you snort this woman's dad's ashes, or she tricks you into snorting her dad's ashes, and something slowly happens. Okay, I'm not going to say what happens, but when the results are in, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of your time for the last story. The last story in any anthology, like as a horror movie, should be the best story. In my opinion, that should be the best story in the whole movie. But it was actually the worst. It was the dumbest ones. And there are some weird storylines in here. But that one was just, it wastes everybody's time. I got to give this an I cool. Yes, I'm giving this an I cool because they went there. They actually had the guts to go here. Okay, this is the first time I've seen a horror movie like this at all. To a point where it's not really your normal horror movie, period. And I respect them for doing that. Press that like button. Share this. You better subscribe.